I'm Richard Robertson with Robertson Six Productions. We are a faith-based film company out of Kansas City, Missouri. I am the director and creator of the feature film The Freedom of Silence, which is due to release this spring, and it is our first endeavor at a feature film. Well, if you had asked me 3.5 years ago what I know about making films, it was absolutely nothing. I had no intention on making a movie, didn't have any intention on making this feature film. When God put this on my lap and He put this on my heart, I just felt like I was called to do this. Prior to this, all we'd ever done was some street witnessing videos and a couple short films and some playthings, but nothing of this level and this magnitude. In The Freedom of Silence, we face the very real issue that there will be a time that it comes that Christian faith will be outlawed. If you read prophecy and Revelation, it talks about a time where Christians will be martyred for their faith. So where the Chinese Christian church has been driven underground right now and has to meet in secret, this is where our story takes place, only instead of being in China, we're in America, where they decided to ban all religion. It didn't matter what you are, Jewish, Islamic, Catholic, evangelical, whatever you are, they've decided to ban all religion as being intolerant. They figured they brewed hate and violence, so they decided to ban it altogether. When we originally began to work on The Freedom of Silence, we had what we thought was going to be a working budget. That fell through, and then we decided that we'd fall back on simply going by donations, where we wanted to have a PayPal link on our website and a link to it from our Facebook page where churches or other Christians could donate to the cause just as if you would when you're tithing at your church. And we thought that that would be enough to produce the income needed for the film. And we did raise some capital that way. We were able to raise probably a couple $1,000s that way. We tried putting a thing out on Indiegogo, and we tried using another couple of those sites where they raise funds for you, but nothing seemed to pan out. So a majority of the film was actually paid for out of our own pocket. During principal photography of The Freedom of Silence, we had approximately 30 active speaking characters, and we had over 200 extras that were used throughout the film. On the crew side, we would have anywhere from 2 guys up to 6 to 8 sometimes, although that was on the rarity. Majority of the people that we found for the cast and crew of The Freedom of Silence were cast from Craigslist and some people that we knew that were friends of the church that we attended, or people that they knew began to bring extras in that way. But that's how we found all of our cast and crew. It took about 4.5 months to film principal photography for The Freedom of Silence. We've had to film some B-roll that was prior to our filming and a little B-roll since then. But for the most part, we were able to film the entire film in under 5 months. And that was using mainly weekends like Friday, Saturday, and Sundays. We'd film Friday nights, all day Saturday, and all day Sunday. We had a few long nights that went over 12 hours, but most of the time I don't think we actually broke the 10-hour mark. We tried to keep it down and not put a lot of pressure on our actors, and we were able to make a really good schedule in advance. So we were able to schedule out a lot of scenes in advance. So we knew going into a weekend how much we needed to achieve that weekend. And other than, I think we lost 2 weekends to bad weather, we were able to make those up pretty quickly and stay on track. The primary camera we used to film The Freedom of Silence was a JVC GY-HD 100U. As you can see here. It was our primary camera, our A camera. We also use the Pentax KX. It has a high def ability, shoots in 720p. And then later on filming, we actually picked up a Canon T2i, which also shoots in high def at 1080, but we shot in 720 so that everything matched. The JVC was a very versatile camera. It had a good weight for using on the Steadicam rig and the crane, and it had a very professional look too. The DSLRs are a great camera and give you awesome depth of field. The drawback with the DSLR is when you show up to a film shoot and you pull out basically what looks like a photographer's camera and you say you're ready to film a movie, people don't take it seriously. So it was nice to have a big camera like the JVC. It's a shoulder mount camera. They really gave that the stamp of authority with what we're doing. When it came time to edit The Freedom of Silence, we made the choice to go with Final Cut Pro. It seemed to be the industry standard that a lot of people are using, So we decided to go that route. So far, we've been editing for about 4.5 months. Probably got about 2 more months to go. We've got the rough cut done, and now we're getting into all the audio scoring. I myself did all the editing. I'll be doing all the audio mixing. I'll be laying in the score that was done by our musician, Jason North. And I'll be doing all the color correction in-house too. So majority of the editing will be done through my hands. When God put this film on my heart to make it, I just began doing all my research. I began checking YouTube and Vimeo, and I just turned into a sponge. I picked up every book, magazine, I watched every video I could possibly find on how to edit, how to do color correction, how to do sound editing. I started watching all my films that I had that I'd watched before and new ones. I would watch not only the film itself, but I'd try and watch it for cinematic reasons, like how do they do that shot, why do they do that shot. But then I would go into the extra features and start studying the behind the scenes, and I would kind of study how they did it, and I'd try and get in the minds of certain directors and understand why it is they did the certain shots for certain reasons. And I try to understand about lighting and how they use it to affect the mood, same for scoring and all that kind of stuff. I think the hardest part of the Freedom of Silence was the paperwork. I am not a paperwork guy. I love the cinematography, I love the editing, yelling action cut, I like building sets and setting up lighting kits, but I'm not a fan of all the paperwork. And I was absolutely astonished at the amount of paperwork it required to get ready for this film, from making all the schedules to the constant emails and building wardrobe list and location list and you name it. It just paperwork and paperwork and more paperwork. What's next? It's kind of hard to think about what's next, considering we're still in the editing phase of the Freedom of Silence, but we've got a couple things on the horizon. I've got a short film treatment that we're turning over to our writer, Steve Larson, who wrote all the dialogue and over half the script of the Freedom of Silence, and did an absolutely brilliant job. Video is number 2, audio is number 1. A lot of people go out and make films and they're more worried about the camera than they are the audio. They're worried about how the image looks. But a movie that has great picture but terrible audio is very hard to sit through. A movie that's got bad video but great audio is much easier to sit through. So the biggest recommendation I would have is get a really good microphone, the best that you can get, a good recorder, and a good guy who knows how to run a boom right. We have a motto at Robertson 6 Productions. We don't want to make a film that we would not be willing to sit on a couch with Christ himself and watch. When you're a Christian filmmaker and you put a film out there and you make a product, not only are you representing yourself and your own company, but you're representing all the Christians who fall in the same dome as you, and you're also representing Christ. So when you make something that is defamatory towards him, or you use his name in vain, or other kind of profanity, or sexuality or immorality, you're defaming him too. And you only have one chance with video. Video is like a bullet. Once it's been fired, you can't pull it back. Once you film something, you put it out, you can't ever take it back again. The whole world's seen it. So make sure when you film something, whether you're an actor or you're a filmmaker, do something you can be proud of. Don't do something simply because you have the opportunity. You need to stop and think and pray through everything you do, and make sure you feel like you have his blessing before you do it. We want to thank you for watching this interview and for checking out ChristianFilmmaker.com. This is Richard Robertson with Robertson 6 Productions. You can find out more about the Freedom of Silence by going to our website, thefreedomofsilence.com, or you can check us out on Facebook under The Freedom of Silence. One of the drawbacks with having such a small crew is we weren't able to run a behind-the-scenes camera, which is one thing that we really wanted to run. We wanted to be able to show everybody how our film was made. But what we did take is a lot of behind-the-scenes photographs. So I got a little montage here, just some behind-the-scenes photos that we picked out that I thought you guys might be interested in seeing, that we took during the Freedom of Silence.
No one quite remembers where it really all began. Struggle on as refugees inside a foreign land. The unholiest alliances of